it's time for News Tonight. You're welcome to the bulletin here from the Akua Boahema studio at North Ridge. I am Ani Fuampofo. Follow us on social media as Metro TV Ghana, and you can also follow us on Instagram and on Twitter. It's Metro TV_GH. Now let's take a look at the headlines in TV. Minority caucus in Parliament files an application at Supreme Court to stop the Ghana Revenue Authority from collecting the controversial E-LEVY on May 1, 2022. We'll also interrogate the EIU's reports which suggests the NDC may win the 2020 polls with a fresh presidential candidate. Ghana Meteorological Agency cautions persons living along the east coast of the country to vacate or adequate preparation against possible high tides in the coming days. And on the foreign front elsewhere, Russian forces seize the city of Kremina in eastern Ukraine's Donbas region as Ukrainian troops stage a withdrawal. You're welcome back. Now, the minority in Parliament has filed an injunction application at the Supreme Court in Accra against the implementation of the controversial electronic transfer levy, probably known as the E-LEVY, pending the determination of its substantive case currently before the Apex Court. Now, the court has, however, scheduled the hearing of the case for May 4, 2022. 3 days after the planned date for the implementation of the levy. Now, the controversial E-LEVY bill was passed by the one-sided parliament as the majority side, but the minority argues, based on the recent Supreme Court judgment, that the majority did not have the quorum to pass the bill. The E-LEVY is expected to increase tax revenue by 6.9 billion Ghana cedis for the government to help reduce the budget deficit. Government has struggled with implementing a comprehensive tax regime due to the large informal sector. Now, let's go onto the phone lines and speak with Okudzeto Ablakwa, who is Member of Parliament and a part of the team that actually went to court. Honorable, thank you for your time. You're welcome to News Tonight. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Annie. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So explain to us why you have decided to take this action without wanting to give up.
Well, good evening to all distinguished viewers of Metro TV. I can confirm to you that today we instructed our lawyers to file an application for an injunction at the Supreme Court of Ghana, an application which has been successfully filed, and hearing has been fixed for the 4th of May. We have also been duly informed that all parties to this suit this application have been served, and that once that has happened, we do not expect government to go ahead with its planned implementation of the unconstitutional and obnoxious E-LEVY on the 1st of May, because that will be tantamount to contempt of court. We have brought this action because you will recall that on the 30th of March, we filed the substantive case which relates to the unconstitutional passage of the E-LEVY, which did not meet the constitutional threshold of 138 members of parliament present and voting, as provided for under Article 1041 of the 1992 Constitution. We were further fortified by the Justice Abdullahi case, which made clear that when 137 NDC MPs purported to have rejected the 2022 budget, we did not have the numbers to take a decision because we did not meet the constitutional threshold of 138. So if 137 NDC MPs could not take a decision, how can an even inferior number of 136 purport to have taken a decision leading to the passage of the repugnant, regressive, and absolutely obnoxious E-levy? So we are clear in our minds that this was a very sensible path to take, considering the fact that the substantive case has not been heard yet, and no date has been provided as of now. And yet government is going ahead with plans to implement. It would not have been wise to just, sit aloof for the implementation date to come and for government to start collecting the E-levy. And just imagine what will have happened when the Supreme Court finally hears a substantive case and declares that the E-levy was passed wrongly, it was unconstitutional, they are setting it aside, it's of no effect, it is void. The collections will have happened and Ghanaians will have lost so much money, and there is no guarantee that government can even refund the E-levy collections back to Ghanaians. That is why we have taken the action we have taken today to protect the good people of Ghana, to continue with the E-levy fight, and most importantly, to uphold the 1992 Constitution of Ghana.
So we are to hear this case on the 4th of May 2022, which is, as I read, 3 days after the implementation of the E-levy. How is that going to play out?
Yes, so my understanding from our lawyers is that once the application for the injunction has been successfully filed and all parties have been served, they have been duly notified. And so government cannot continue with the implementation on the 1st of May. If government does that, there will be a clear case of contempt. Remember that this is not a banana republic, it's not a jungle. You must abide by the rules. And indeed, I mean, we are also not going to allow that. If we see any signs, we will return to the courts and ensure that the laws of our country are protected. So we can safely say for now that the so-called 1st May implementation date has been thrown out of gear. It should not take effect. Everybody must take
That's
action.
That's an advice or something that's told by your lawyers?
No, that's the position of the law, as I understand from our lawyers who have successfully filed today. So Ghanaians should expect that based on our action, the GRA is stopped for now. The government cannot go ahead and collect E-levy on the 1st of May. They would have to wait for the determination of this application for injunction on the 4th of May. That is the proper thing to do, and that is what we expect the government and all of its agents and assigns, including the GRA, to do.
Is this fight you're putting up to prove a point and maybe change the perception that your supporters had when you walked out of Parliament, or it is purely for the interest of Ghanaians?
We have always said that the E-levy resistance is a fight, it is a war that the Ghanaian people have mandated us to wage. It is in the interest of the people of Ghana. We are not necessarily opposed to taxation, but taxation which is so regressive, which is so punitive, which does not even meet the definition of taxation, we would not support it. I did a town hall in my constituency, a non-partisan town hall chaired by the chiefs and queen mothers. When we voted, 331 were against the E-levy, only 4 voted in support. And that's my marching orders, very clear mandate. And a lot of our colleagues. Look, you'll see how even MPP MPs who claim to have engaged this ridiculous unconstitutional conduct, you see how they'll be punished at the polls. So this fight has always been about the people, standing for the people, just like the MPP stood by the people when President Rawlings tried to introduce VAT in 1995. And remember that President Rawlings, who even has a military background, God bless his soul, the late President Rawlings suspended and suspended the introduction of VAT for almost 5 years. It was reintroduced later in 2000, much reduced threshold, in a more improved format. You have a government that is so intransigent, that is so obstinate, they will not listen to anybody. Look, as recent as today, the Chamber of Telecoms has issued statements about how this is so problematic, how it will not even help to be collecting E-LEVY from salaries of workers and all of that. They have serious implementation challenges. The telcos are up in arms against this. So poor consultation. This is the only tax that government rushes to parliament, seeks to bulldoze it through, and then when it fails, it now goes round and claims to be conducting town hall meetings. So look, our walkout, we have always said that it was strategic. We knew that when we walk out, they will not have the numbers to pass it. That is why we did what we did. Right. All those who are unfairly attacking us that we walked out because we have been compromised, we have been bribed, they don't know what they are talking about. Maybe they are saying that because that's what they would have done if they were in our shoes. That is not the kind of people we are. That is not the mandate we have from our people. We value our integrity, and we challenge anybody who has any evidence that any NDC MP has been compromised or has been bribed. Look, we take a very serious view of those allegations, and a strong exception for that matter. We are not in that house to engage in bribe collections and to sell our conscience and, as it were, betray the people who sent us to parliament. Right. That is not what we are in parliament to do.
Right. Thank you very much, Member of Parliament for North Tongue constituency and also ranking member for the Foreign Affairs Committee, Okujeto Ablakwa, who is part of the senior members in the House who have gone to court over the E-LEVY to place an injunction on its implementation. Let's see how that also plays out. Now, let's do some other stories on the EU's report. So the report from the Economist and Intelligence Unit has been the center of debate. What exactly does this really say? Now, here are some snippets of the report. And it says that the ruling party, the New Patriotic Party, will seek to limit the fallout from the coronavirus pandemic. And dissatisfaction over high unemployment and perceived corruption will spare sporadic unrest, but political stability will prevail on the whole. So risks to the security outlook include potential spillover attacks from Islamist extremists in the Sahel region. We have other parts of the report that says that the EU expects Ghana's underlying political stability to endure over the forecast period, despite a high acrimonious party political landscape. The fierce rivalry between the two major parties, the ruling New Patriotic Party NPP and the opposition National Democratic Congress NDC, will remain the core feature of the political scene. A razor-thin NPP-led working majority in Parliament, with 138 out of the 275 seats, implies that they're achieving consensus on the continuous reforms, including planned tax rises, will prove tumultuous. And then we also have the next parliamentary and presidential elections are due in 2024. Under constitutionally mandated term limits, the incumbent president, Mr. Akufo-Addo, cannot run for the third term. The former president, John Mahama, is reportedly considering running again. But we expect the opposition NDC to try to revitalize its prospects with a fresh candidate. And pollster Benefsin has joined us on phone to talk to us more about this. Benefsin, thank you so much for your time. You're welcome to News Tonight. Good evening to you. You may have gone through the EU's report already, have you?
Yes. Hello.
Hello, Uncle Ben. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fine,
Good
fine.
evening. Good evening to our viewers.
Right. Have you already gone through the EU's report?
Yes.
Okay. What would be your first reaction to it, first of all?
Well, I think that the EIU has a track record of predicting Ghana's results over the last 5 elections. This is part of a 5-year report on Ghana. And one of the core things in this is that the NDC has a better chance of winning with a new presidential candidate. That is the core, the interesting thing in it. That is, it has a better chance.
So, there's been some criticisms on the reports that the advice it sought to give to the NDC, there seemed to be no basis provided. Facts, when you conduct a research, you may conduct or gather certain facts on the ground that should lead you to this advice specifically having given to the NDC. But they didn't find anything of that nature, and they don't seem it's important for them to recognize as a party.
Bridget, I need to remind your viewers that in instances that the EIU has said the NDC will win the elections, at no point have I heard anybody in the MPP asking EIU to provide particulars. You understand? And I think that I am, like I told you that by end of June, I would have finished my book. I'm doing some work, and the EIU, if they had said this a year later, I think that 2.5 years is kind of a long time. But the work I'm doing myself is not too far in terms of what the EIU is saying. In terms of, if you analyze 2020, it tells you one thing clearly. A third of Ghanaian voters are swing.
Let's just say, should the party decide that, okay, maybe after about a month or two, they decide that they will change the candidate. Does the party, we have about 3 years to go to 2024 elections, do they have enough time to sell another new candidate, a fresh candidate?
You see, this is only a suggestion from a policy think tank. I'm sure the NDC has their own research team. Now, if you look at the performance of the NDC in the parliamentary elections in 2020, it's far removed from Mohamed Abisma's performance. Because Mohamed lost by as much as about 540,000 votes. And NDC won, they lost 32 seats in 2016. They got back about 30. You understand? So clearly, there's a problem. And towards the book, I can tell your viewers exclusively that one of the main reasons why Muhammad suffered secondly was his inability to be clear on what he would do with the presidents when it comes to power. That was one of the reasons that he lost heavily. So the EIU is not far removed, because if by 2020 people thought that you might cancel it, since he lost, he has never come out to try and redefine, to try and sharpen his views on the presidents. What proves that in 2024, those people who voted against you will not vote against you again, because in the aftermath of 2020, Mahama has never come out to really rethink or polish his view that people had that he will cancel presidents.
I see. Benefson, thank you so much for speaking to us here on Newsnight. We'll leave the interview here. Now, let's get to the office of the former president. Aide to former President John Dramani Mahama, Joyce Bawuah-Mutare, says the former president is unfazed by the reports from the Economist and Intelligence Unit EIU. According to her, considering the abysmal performance of the MPP, a change in government should be expected in 2024's election, and her boss remains the best candidate to lead the party.
I have no doubt in my mind that this is just an attempt by the EIU, as they have done over the years, to give us a baseline report. It is actually an attempt by them to put a balanced face to what I would consider as basically hedging, because it has actually become very obvious that considering the rather abysmal performance of the MPP under President Akufo-Addo, naturally a change in government come 2024 is to be expected. And considering we have a two-way street, we all know that the party in waiting to assume the reins of government is certainly the National Democratic Congress. Indeed, for them to mention the name of former President John Dramani Mahama is actually, for me, a totally speculative subject, because indeed this is a matter that actually pertains to the NDC party in terms of its internal arrangements. And I believe that currently we are ongoing with our internal party organization and reorganization. And yes, certainly there will be a contest. And I have no doubt in my mind, and I do expect President John Dramani Mahama to contest, and I do expect him, of course, to win the election come 2024. And I believe that there is no doubt to my mind presently that President Mahama is actually poised to once more lead the NDC as its flag bearer in the run-up to the 2024 elections. Certainly, we are all convinced now that indeed this government has performed abysmally on all of the key indicators.
While you're still watching News Tonight with me, Ania from Pofo, let's take a breather. I'll be back for more. Welcome back to News Tonight with me, Ani Ifwa Ampofo. Now let's do some more stories. And the Ghana Meteorological Agency has cautioned persons living along the east coast of the country to vacate or make adequate preparation against possible high tides in the coming days. According to the authority, this levy, a heavy tide, is expected to be rough, reaching about 1.82 meters.
In their recent update on the change of rainfall pattern, the Ghana Meteorological Agency says there is the likelihood of high tides along the country's coastlines. This is possible to hit 1.82 meters than normal during the rainy times. It is against this backdrop that the agency has cautioned that all persons along the country's coastal lines, especially those along the east coast, should prepare ahead of the heavy rains. Prior to this announcement, the World Meteorological Organization has emphasized the need for early warning and early action, as well as impact-based forecast during its annual celebration of World Meteorological Day. In addressing this in Ghana, Global Challenges Research Fund, African Science for Weather Information and Forecasting Techniques Project have helped build capacity for forecasters on IBF and is being implemented by Ghana Meteorological Agency for early warning and informed decision making. On their part, the Ghana Meteorological Agency says they have undertaken a research which was highlighted by the World Meteorological Organization High Impact Weather Citizen Science Project on how the Ghana Meteorological Agency is using its Let's Talk Weather in Ghana, an awareness program intended to save any chaos from March to June 2022.
Let's do some more on the story. And I've been joined in the studio by Adom Derchi, who is the senior meteorologist. He's joined me here on the platform. You're welcome to News Tonight.
Thank you very much.
So this is one of the many advice you've been given over the period. But sometimes people criticize that the meteo is too quiet. You don't give us adequate as much as we wanted.
With respect to the sea, you know, many of our seamen, or the fisher folks, are clinging to, or they are used to the traditional method of predicting the weather. And as human beings, when we predict it, at least we be somehow 80% accurate. And the 20% accurate, when you predict and it doesn't come, they hold that negative one and just criticize.
So that's what we do?
You see, that's what you do, the media.
That's what the media does?
Yes, please.
It's not the media, it's the public.
You also highlight that one.
Yeah, but we tell you what we pick from the ground because we need to come. We serve as a bridge between the public and you. So we tell you what the public thinks. Yeah. So, well, concerning the warning you have given on this tidal wave, the previous ones that have happened, did you pick any details on them before they happened?
Yes, please.
You did?
Yes, please.
And did you give us a question? Because it looks like we're highlighting this more than that.
Yeah, we gave. That was 7th November. There was one tidal wave that happened that was somewhere in the Volta region, Kita. And the 3rd April, we also had another one. That will happen on Sunday. And we have the tide being caused by the gravitational pull between the moon and then the earth. Actually, the sun
gravitational pull?
Yeah,
between the moon and the earth?
Yeah, the gravitational pull of the moon causes the tide on the earth's surface.
Wow.
So we know the sun is also part, but the sun is somehow far from the earth. But the moon is closer, on top of proximity. So its effect is much felt on the tidal height than the sun. So the moon is just moving around the earth. So when the moon becomes, like we term it as new moon, that is when the moon is between the sun and then the earth. That's why we experience the full moon. That time, the tide is very high. And when it's also in full moon, we also experience high tide. So we are moving into a full moon. That happened on Saturday. So when we are getting closer to the full moon, we always experience high tide. That is high, that is like a wave. It moves like this and reaches its peak, then comes down. So we started giving warning from Thursday that we are going to experience, not warning as you see separated from the normal forecast, but with the forecast we have the red pen or red color under it, that especially the eastern coast, because of their elevation above the sea level, it is almost 1 meter above the sea level. So if you have a tidal height of more than 1.5, it's likely it can cause a coastal flood, especially when the atmospheric parameters or atmospheric conditions are not unfavorable.
So then this is not just a Ghana problem, because it's moving along the coast.
What is moving along the coast?
The force or the waves that we're talking about.
Yes, please.
It's moving. It should be moving from. I don't know which country it can be moving from, but any country that seems to be on the border line of the coast.
And low elevation.
Yes.
The elevation also counts. That is the height above the sea level. If you are close to the sea level, so any height of the tidal height that is higher than your elevation, it can cause a coastal flood. But it's being escalated by the atmospheric condition. So if we have a system or moving system, it can affect the tidal height. Aside that, if there's no atmospheric condition that is going to influence the tidal height, the height that we give is always the same. It doesn't go beyond that.
So the recent ones that happened, you've given a measure of 1.8 meters.
1.8 meters.
How serious is it compared to the previous ones we've experienced?
Because of the atmospheric condition, there was a system called a storm. That's what they term as storm surge. If there's a storm, it increases the wind speed. It's like pressing the string of a guitar. If you press it, that gives you the height of the tide. So the moment it moves up, it becomes like a blanket and covers the wind speed. Because when there's a system, the ambient wind strength increases. So it pushes it, instead of stopping at the coastline, it moves beyond the coastline. That's why we experience the tidal flood.
So I'm asking, is this more serious than the previous ones we've experienced?
Oh, no, it's not more serious.
This is not more serious?
No.
So the reason why, like, for example, the 3rd April one, what meters was it? This is 1 point. The one you're warning us now about is 1.82. Yes. The previous one was what?
1.9. Actually, I forgot. Yeah, 1.9.
1.9. So
and
around
that one,
the
we also
same
have.
range.
It's not only the tide that causes the flood, the coastal flood. We also have significant wave heights. So the tide is for the tidal height, we cannot do anything about it because of the distance between the moon and the sun is fixed.
Yeah.
But the significant wave height is where the atmospheric condition influences the tidal height and it escalates the height of the tide. So instead of stopping at the usual place, it goes beyond the usual place, then we experience the coastal flood.
Okay, does government know about this warning?
For us, when we finish, we send it to the appropriate quarters. We send one to NADMO, Ghana Maritime Authority, we send to the fisher folks, we send it to the WhatsApp group. The WhatsApp group consists of, we have Let's Talk Weather 1, 2, up to 7. And each is having about 256 members.
Okay.
So after we send it, for the government getting the information,
that answers my question. Yes. Government is aware. Adom Dache is a senior meteorologist explaining the warning or the caution to us. Thank you for joining us here on News Tonight. It's time for us to take another breather. When we come back, Winston is standing by to give us the business news.
Metro TV, my name is Winston Take. And now to a first business story. Latest report from the London-based Economist Intelligence Unit has predicted that the Ghana cedi's rate against the dollar is likely to hit 7 cedi 87 pesos by the end of December 2022.
The expected depreciation of local currency against the dollar for the next 8 months of this year, according to the EIU, will be influenced by the import structure of the economy and some actions of the offshore investors in Ghana's bonds. The EIU also adjusted its average end-of-year depreciation from 6.55 cedis to 7.35 cedis. Based on the forecast by the EIU, one can say the cedi's worst and challenging depreciation against the US dollar is over. Some may also argue that the depreciation rate against the dollar will slow down significantly over the next 8 months of this year. This is because, based on the average quotes by some of the major commercial banks in the country, they are selling the dollar for 7.80 cedis to their retail clients. The development may mean that for the next 8 months, the cedi's depreciation against the dollar may not be more than 0.7 cedis. It may bring some comfort to businesses that has raised concerns about the sharp depreciation rate against the dollar in the past. The cedi weakened sharply in the first 2 months of 2022, reflecting increased demand for hard currency due to a strengthening in Ghana's structurally import-dependent businesses, activity and profit repatriation by Ghana-based multinationals, which is primarily carried out during the first quarter of the calendar year. We expect the headline inflation rate to remain high, average about 15% throughout early 2022. Driven by supply-side price pressures, including rising global oil and food prices, exacerbated by logistical bottlenecks related to Russia-Ukraine war, and high utility and transport costs.
Now we are joined on Zoom by financial management consultant Christian Chichijan to speak on the back of the projection made by the EIU. Good evening and welcome to Newsnight.
Good evening, Winston.
Great. So the projection, consistently we've realized that the Bank of Ghana has released figures to the effect that the cedi depreciated by 14.5% in the first quarter of 2022. With this projection being 7 cedi 87 pesos by the end of the year, is it something that is quite attainable?
Yeah, Winston, I would say it is very much attainable, because if you look at where the cedi peaked against the dollar somewhere mid-March of about 8.4, and what we are doing at the moment, which is averagely 7.6, 7.7, it's very much attainable. I am suspecting that the credible institution, that's the EIU, its prediction of 7.8 is against the backdrop of certain activities that is going to happen getting to the latter part of the year, where there are a lot of importations into the country for the Christmas festivities. So I'm sure the 7.8 prediction is against that backdrop, but I can tell you for a fact that it's been dropping since it peaked at 8.4 mid-March to around the 7.6, 7.7 as at close of today.
All right. We understand inflation for the month of March was recorded at 19.4%. That is a 4% jump compared to February. Does that reflect that the monetary policy adjustment did not have any effect on the market? Am I right?
With monetary policy adjustments, it has got its target and the effect. You see, some of them are geared towards the short term, the middle term, as well as the long term. With the perspective that we had from 14.5 to 17%, that was an upwards adjustment. And so what that means is that cost of borrowing obviously is going to go high. So for the businessman to go and borrow on the higher side, we don't actually expect that the prices of goods and services are going to go down any moment sooner. Against the previous happenings to the higher dollar rate was also used in purchasing some of these goods. So the businessman being rational, that is putting on the margins on that product, the prices should still remain. But the effect, it's not actually to be realized in the short term, but then in the medium to long term, that is when we are expected to have lower prices of goods and services. But at the moment on our local market, it is rising and it will continue to rise.
All right. Thank you, Christian. It's been nice talking to you. Now, let's come back to the studio. Let's look at the commodities market and how prices of goods and commodities have been. We'll also be assessing, consequently, how performance of various stocks on the stock market. But for now, that's all for business here on News 9. My name is Winston Taki. We take a break. We're back with sports.
My name is Phil John Quarter, and it's time for sports. Just before we focus on African football, let's go straight to Anfield because that's where we have the biggest news. Liverpool are leading Manchester United by 2-0. The gentleman from Bogota in Colombia, Luis Diaz, scored the first goal. Then Mo Salah added the second. It's quite interesting for now. It's an outstanding game involving Liverpool and Manchester United. Gameplay so far, I think 44 minutes is 2-0 in favor of Liverpool for now. They are on top of the EPL. Let's focus on African football now because the qualifiers for the 2023 African Cup of Nations draw has been held. We'll give you the there they are over there. Nigeria in Group A alongside the men from Freetown, Guinea-Bissau and Sao Tome in Group A. For Group B, have Burkina Faso, Cape Verde, Togo and Swaziland. In C, you can find the men from Yaoundé, the Nairobi guys, Kenya, and Namibia and Burundi. For Group D, we have Egypt, Guinea-Bissau, not Guinea, that should be Guinea, by the way. Then we have Malawi and Ethiopia. That is where we have our focus in Group E, Ghana, Madagascar, Angola, and the Central African Republic. Once again, in Group E, we have Ghana, Madagascar, Angola, and Central African Republic. Let's go to Group F now. We have Algeria. We have the men from Kampala, Uganda, I think Niger, and Arusha, Tanzania in that order. Let's go to the other group. We'll get to know who they are. Group G, we have Mali, Congo, Gabon, and South Sudan. Get it right, South Sudan over there in Group G. In Group H, we have the Cote d'Ivoire, the men from Lusaka, Zambia, Comoro Island, and Lesotho. Group I, we have DR Congo, Gabon, Mauritania, and Khartoum, that is Sudan. Then in Group J, we have the guys from Tunis, Equatorial Guinea, Libya, and Botswana. Whilst we have Morocco, South Africa, Harare, Zimbabwe, Morocco. That is over there. I'm talking about Monrovia, Liberia. In Group L, that should be the last one. We have Senegal, Benin, Mozambique, and Rwanda. Those are the charts from Kigali. You're seeing them on your screens over there. Well, let's move away from that one and focus on the 2022 World Cup starting on the 21st of November 2022. Ghana, remember, we're in the same group, the likes of that is Uruguay, South Korea, and Portugal. Ex-Ghana blaster, that is Sasamujan, says that Ghanaians must lower their expectations. Let's hear him.
It's a generational thing. Somebody will say, oh, 1962 for no more, they're saying 19 way for. So it's a generational thing, but it's a new team that we're building. You know, Ghana is building. You see new faces, young players coming up. You know, it's a new thing. For me, my advice: we should lower our expectations for now, you know, and then build the new thing, because we know we are Ghana. We have done it before, you know, coming to this level. We are Ghana, but maybe maybe the players involved are not maybe ready enough. So we should give them time, you know, to make sure they get there. You know, when you put pressure, it's very, very difficult. You know, a player going to replace Messi at Barcelona, you know, there's pressure.
As Ghanaian international Samoa says that Ghanaians must lower their expectations ahead of the start of the World Cup on the 21st of November. Remember, the Ghana finds itself in the same group with Portugal, Uruguay, and South Korea. That's your sports. My name is Phil John Corte. Sudwa is smiling and ready for showbiz, my dear.
Thank you for the update.
My name is Esiodua Akumia. The third edition of Ghana Music Awards USA 2022 nominees have been announced in New York, and some of the categories announced were Artist of the Year, Best Female Vocalist of the Year, New Act of the Year, Rapper of the Year, and others. Now, the most interesting category, Artist of the Year, has 6 artists competing in that category: Black Sharif, Kiddy, Kwame Eugene, Sarkodie, Kofi Kinata, and Stonebwoy. Now, the event, dubbed The Music Matters, is slated for August 20, 2022 at the Lincoln Theatre, Columbus, Ohio. So for our next story, popular Nigerian actress RITA DOMINIC ties the knot. Now here are some excerpts from her traditional marriage ceremony.
The much anticipated wedding ceremony of Nigerian actress RITA DOMINIC is finally here. Pictures and videos of her traditional wedding ceremony has caused a huge frenzy on social media. The wedding ceremony, which took place at a private location on Tuesday, has already featured on countless wedding blogs and other social media platforms. The Nigerian actress was beautifully clad in a typically Igbo princess attire, and she was accompanied by 6 beautifully dressed bridesmaids to meet her groom, Fidelis Anosike. The much anticipated wedding.
Well, that's it for entertainment news. My name is Esiodua Akumia. Annie?
Well, that's all time will allow us, but let's take a look at the headlines once again. Caucus in Parliament files an application at Supreme Court to stop the Ghana Revenue Authority from collecting the controversial E-LEVY on May 1, 2022. We just spoke with Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa on that. We'll also interrogated the EIU's report latest on the NDC, suggesting that they may win the 2024 polls with a fresh presidential candidate instead of Mahama, and we spoke with Benefsin on that as well. The Ghana Meteorological Agency cautions persons living along the east coast of the country to vacate or make adequate preparation against possible high tides in the coming days. And that's what we have for you this evening on News Night. My name is Ania Fampofu. Keep watching Metro TV. Thank you for joining us.